So what is the gut-brain axis? Well, fairly obviously it starts in our brain and it goes down to our gut. And it's actually the link between the two. They're very interconnected. So everything we perceive of the world, our five senses, sight, sound, smell, touch, taste, it all comes in and it goes straight into our brain. So our brain is the first point that anything physically comes into our bodies. But then the brain actually controls the rest of what systems in our bodies, so it has this really powerful knock-on effect. In this case, the activity in the brain can reduce. I'll talk about how it can reduce in another video. But when it reduces, the activity in the pontomedullary area here reduces as well. And this is where 90% of all activity in the brain is. So this is a pretty big deal. And then this actually decreases activity in something called the vagus nerve. And the vagus nerve runs down the back of your body and it goes into a large number of organs. But most notably including the pancreas, which is kind of behind your stomach, your gallbladder in front of your liver, your large intestine, and your small intestine. But it also goes into your heart. Now your heart is important because you basically have three systems in your body: blood, electricity, and lymph. And if all three of them are not working properly, then you have a pretty big issue in your hands. The heart, of course, controls the amount of blood flow to the rest of your body. So when the vagus nerve, the signal to it gets weakened because of the decreased activity in the brain, this decreases blood flow in your gut. When you have this decreased blood flow in your gut, you get all kinds of imbalances in gut flora. And gut flora is a huge indicator of your health. I believe we're something like 90% bacteria. So normally we have these good bacteria in our gut. So when we have this decreased blood flow, it means that we have what they call pathogenic, which is bad, imbalances of bacteria and yeast in our gut. Now this causes inflammation in our gut, and the inflammation causes something called leaky gut. Now normally we have, I don't know if you can see this, so I might have to re-record this part of the video, but the gut kind of looks a bit like a shag carpet, and the food particles, which are these little blue things here, are normally supposed to just, the nutrients themselves are supposed to be broken down and absorbed into the body. So they're much smaller. They'd be more like little dots. But when you have leaky gut, actual whole food particles that haven't been broken down and made into just pure nutrients yet will actually pass through the bloodstream, and this it sets off something, well, it sets off more inflammation, but it specifically, the body sends a little molecule called an inflammatory cytokine to the area, and what these little guys do, I'll do a little one here, he goes around and he tells the other cells in the body what to do. He brings help to areas of the body that are inflamed, which is great, until he travels around the body, because our blood system travels around, and he gets up to the brain. And the brain has something called a blood-brain barrier. So it's meant to keep everything in the bloodstream that's supposed to stay in the bloodstream in there, and then everything that's supposed to go into the brain, it's supposed to let it in. And these inflammatory cytokines are not meant to go in the brain. But unfortunately, when we have inflammation in the body, we have inflammation at the blood-brain barrier site as well. So we have a leaky blood-brain barrier. And that lets these little guys in. And they go to this, the first two cells in the brain are neurons and then microglial cells. Microglial cells are basically the defense system, kind of the immune system of the brain. And so these little guys go up here and they tell the microglial cells, there's inflammation. And this is a big problem because there's actually no T cells in the brain. So there's no way for, your immune system normally just turns off inflammation once the scenario has gone. But in the brain, because there's no T cells to tell your body to just, it's okay, the danger's gone now, the inflammation continues because these little microglial cells have no T cells to tell them it's okay, you can calm down now. So this means you now have inflammation of the brain, and that's not good at all. It also ends up decreasing activity in the brain, and that's where we began, is a decreased activity in the brain. And of course, once you have decreased activity in the brain, you have decreased activity in the pontomedullary area, decreased activity in the vagus nerve, decreased blood flow around the body, and the whole cycle continues. It's basically a vicious cycle. So because of this vicious cycle, which scientists so lovingly call a positive feedback loop, we actually have to address any imbalances in the gut, both in the gut and in the head, because of if you don't address anything in the gut, then the brain will keep being inflamed, and if you don't address anything in the brain, then the decreased output and decreased blood flow continues. So a lot of the time, if somebody's been struggling with a health problem for years, it's because they've been addressing the physical symptoms, and they've been completely ignoring the emotional, but also there's quite a physical component to the brain that's based on this electrical signal that I was talking about earlier, in terms of the three systems that run throughout our bodies, and one of them is the electrical system, and of course our brain is in charge of that. Our body and its health systems obviously are much more complicated than just one system. I actually believe the body is one whole integrated system, just like the traditional Chinese medicine model teaches. So there's actually a lot more here, such as the limbic system in the brain, the endocrine system, which includes the large intestine, pancreas, and the small intestine, just your general overall gut, and then your exocrine system, which is kind of part of it, but it secretes its hormones in a slightly different way, which is what the endocrine system is. It's your hormonal system. That includes your liver, which is included here. There's obviously a lot more to both of those systems as well, but I will be talking about those in another video. If you like what you've heard, please check out my other videos and subscribe below so you're the first to know when another one comes out. Much health and happiness to you.